guys, it's Stasha Eriksen. I hope you're all doing well today. Just wanted to do a special little video. I haven't done something like this in a while. I've been reading my own book and talking a lot about my own book, and it's very interesting, the Mandela effect to a lot of people, but I've noticed a real correlation between a very infamous book that I've been reading over the past year or so. And this book, which many of you know as 1984 by George Orwell. And what I wanted to do is just simply read you a little bit of information from the very first page of this book, known as About the Author. This book is extremely important, and I feel that it's been misunderstood by a lot of people, and particularly people who are afraid of Donald Trump being president. As many people know, I voted for him, and I do support him. I do see an element of power overtaking his spirit, but this does happen to just about anybody who has a level of power. But I want you guys to understand the almost prophecy or the prophetic nature of this man, Eric Arthur Blair, aka George Orwell. And I feel like I might just kind of continue to read little series of books like this to you guys that I feel are very pertinent to the current times that we're in. So I'm just going to read this, and that'll be the video for today. Also, if you haven't checked it out, I did do a podcast with Jim Harold of the Paranormal Podcast. It's been uploaded on this channel. My version of the interview is about 44 minutes. You can also go to jimharold.com, and you can also download the full MP3 version. There's another woman who has an interview after mine, which is about some crazy old biblical conjuring. It's way over my head, so I still have a lot to learn about the second half of the episode, but I do hope that you enjoy my interview with Jim Harold, because I do feel that the Mandela effect is finally being able to be, it's just starting to be taken seriously, and it's time that we become more scholarly and educated about this and not so stuck in the conspiracy world. Okay, so please check out the podcast. Also, my dear friend Brian McFarlane, who's a heavy Mandela effect researcher, also mirrored the interview on his channel. So if you're subscribed to Brian and you missed it here on my channel, please check it out over there and let me know what you think. Also, I am getting an abundance of submissions for not Diary of an Asset, sorry, for the Mandela Effect Volume 2. And it's getting really, really overwhelming for me to have time to put all this stuff together. So what I'm really, really, really needing a lot of support on is for people to go to the GoFundMe page for the Mandela Effect Books project. And if you can please donate $1, $5, $10, it doesn't, anything at all that you can afford. If you are someone that is interested in the Mandela effect and a serious researcher and would like to have your information submitted, or especially if you sent me info to be submitted, I self-publish all of this stuff. Hopefully, if I write enough books, then eventually a publishing company will be interested in helping me put these books out. But in the meantime, they're getting really expensive for me to keep going. So if you'd like to contribute really anything at all, please check the description in the links below for the GoFundMe project for the Mandela Effect book. I could really use your support. I really want to get Volume 2 out, hopefully by the end of this year, if at all possible. I'm also working on my first series of children's books, which I haven't told anybody about yet, but it's a series of children's books about Leif Eriksen and his true story. He was the Viking that eventually discovered America. So I'm also working on that project as well, and I could really use your support and help when I get to that point of wrapping that book up. I'm working with an amazing artist right now who's trying to truly depict the best representations of life and his father, Eric the Red, throughout this series. So I want to start just helping as many people as I can, from children through adults, all of us. So now let's get on with the reading. So I'm just going to read you the very intro of the book, which is called About the Author. George Orwell is the nom de plume of the author, whose real name was Eric Arthur Blair. He was an English novelist, essayist, journalist, and critic, most well known for his seminal anti-totalitarian works, Animal Farm in 1945, and 1984, which was released in 1949. Orwell was also a literary critic, poet, and journalist. Most of his writings were marked by an awareness of social justice, opposition, and so hard to say that word, totalitarianism, and an affirmation of democratic socialism. He is commonly ranked as the most powerful writers and chroniclers of the 20th century. He was ranked second on a list of the 50 greatest British writers since 1945 by The Times. For his much acclaimed novel, 1984, he was honored with the Prometheus Award. Ooh, Prometheus, that's a lot of symbolism there. He posthumously received the award again in 2011 for Animal Farm. God, all those years later, they finally recognize him. His work continues to influence popular and political culture more than 60 years after they were published. 1984 and Animal Farm continue to resonate with readers both young and old. Many of his neologisms have entered the cultural zeitgeist, including commonly used terms such as Big Brother, Thought Police, Thought Crime, Doublethink, and Cold War in its current usage. The term Orwellian, which we've all been hearing a lot of, has evolved into a descriptive of totalitarian, I can never say that, and the authoritarian practices. George Orwell has left an indelible impression on the writings of the 20th century. His works continue to hold an important place in the study of modern literature and history. Animal Farm and 1984 are allegories that serve as a frightening portent of an oppressive future where power is all-pervasive and unchecked. Orwell's deeply thought-provoking ideas and lucid prose have forever earned him a place among the definitive writers of the English language. Now that's an author for you. This is what I strive to do someday, to be a true author and to be recognized, even if it takes 60 years after my death. And I'll just end with a short timeline about George Orwell. Most people don't even know that his name isn't George Orwell. 1903, he was born Eric Arthur Blair in Motihar, Bengal, India. In 1904, he accompanied his mother to England and continued to live there. In 1922, he joined the Indian Imperial Force in Burma. In 1928, he returned to England. In 1933, 33 is a pretty important number, he adopted the pen name George Orwell. Down and Out in Paris and London was published at that time as well. In 1936, he married Oline O'Shaughnessy, left for Spain to fight for the Republicans against Franco's nationalist uprising. In 1938, he returned to England. In 1941, he began working for the BBC Eastern Service. He worked for BBC. In 1943, he accepted a position as literary editor for the Tribune. In 1945, his anti-communist allegory Animal Farm was published. Eileen Blair died of cardiac failure under anesthetic also that year. In 1949, his best-known work, 1984, was published, and then he married Sonia Brownell. In 1950, he died at age 46 from tuberculosis. Now, he has many works, and if you haven't heard of anything besides 1984 and Animal Farm, you should check out these other writings by him. His most pertinent novels in 1934 was known as Burmese Days. In 1935, he wrote A Clergyman's Daughter. In 1936, Keep the Aspidistra Flying. In 1939, Coming Up for Air. 1945, Animal Farm. 1949, 1984. And what also some people don't realize is that he also published 3 nonfiction books. 1933, he published Down and Out in Paris and London. In 1937, he published The Road to Wigan Pier. And in 1938, he wrote Homage to Catalonia. So that is your little lesson in George Orwell. And the information and what led to this infamous book, 1984. What's actually kind of funny is that when I bought this book on Amazon, it was when I was in the process of writing my book, my first book, which is called Diary of an Asset. I talk a lot about my Mandela Effect book, but really this is the book that's been totally overshadowed of my true works, and that is this book, Diary of an Asset. Now, this book is basically my true story. Now, I had to make it kind of fun and a little interesting in some parts to put it into the science fiction category, because it's really hard to tell your true story when it's so controversial. But writing this book led me to buying 1984. About a week after I bought 1984, I only wrote this book last year as well. The week later, the week after I bought this on Amazon, the book was completely sold out worldwide. So I have, I think, one of the few copies that even exist right now. I bought my daughter a second copy as well. I bought her the original vintage version, but I had the more modernized version because I'm really blind, so I need a really big text. But it's like I had this intuition that this book was going to be important. This is well before the whole Trump thing, and everybody seriously thinks this book has something to do with like what Donald Trump's going to do to the world. But guys, we got to stop putting all the world's prophecies onto one person. There's not like one antichrist. There's not like one guy who's going to end the world. This is a spiritual energy. And this guy here, I'm sorry, he was a prophet. He foresaw what was going to happen. I mean, he died way before any of this real martial law type police state stuff came in. So please read 1984. If you cannot buy a copy anymore, I can't part with mine, but please see if you can find some PDF versions on online and stuff like that, because I'm telling you, this is a really important book. Okay, I love you guys. I'm just trying to stick my content right now to being about books, because that's truly my path. I love YouTube. I love making videos, but the daily trolls and all of the attacks are, you know, it's getting a little tough. You know, I know that comes with the territory, but I'm a pretty sensitive human. You know, I may not show that to all of you, but I'm really sensitive. So, you know, I'm kind of feeding the trolls by telling them that I'm affected by their negativity, but I just have to be honest. I mean, who can be attacked every day over the smallest things? I have people telling me that my teeth are messed up and that I look really old and, you know, just you name it. I mean, just literally nothing to do with my content. And it's like, it just hurts a little bit. So I just want to keep to the writing, because I feel like if I can write enough books, then maybe I can actually exit the YouTube world at some point and get my work out there to a lot more people, because YouTube are still heavily, totally censoring all of my video content. So if any of my videos really touch you and you feel moved by them and you want to share them, please just let me know. I will give you full permission to mirror and copy my work and get it out there, because I truly have seen that the people that mirror my work get 10 times more views than from my own channel. So I really do feel like I'm being filtered by the YouTube AI system. Okay, so I really need your guys' support. Support me on Patreon too. If you pledge just $1 a month on Patreon, I will literally send you a copy of any of my ebooks. I don't just have Diary of an Asset and Mandela Effect. For those of you that are more spiritual or into animal activism and things like that and healing, I have a third book that I've written, which is called Animal Communication. And it really teaches you how to connect with animals and connect the difference between the human and the animal kingdom, and realize that we are not that separate. So if you sign up to be a patron, as soon as you've done that, just send me a message on Patreon, give me your email address, tell me which book you would like me to send you an ebook copy of, and I will send you a copy of either The Mandela Effect on ebook, Diary of an Asset on ebook, or Animal Communication on ebook. Again, Diary of an Asset, it's not just about my true story. It's about MK Ultra. It's about every conspiracy theory that you could possibly think of. The Vril Society, Hitler, everything. I really don't think enough people have given that book a chance. So please check it out and let me know what you think. You know, if you don't like it, fine. That's cool too. But I just want people to understand that there's a lot more going on in this world, and I'm trying to help you guys in every way, shape, or form that I can. So I love you ever so much. I'm really busy with school right now, so I'll check in as often as I can, but I love you guys so much. Peace and love from Norway. Bye-bye.